meeting order. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This regular meeting of the Township Council being held in accordance with the scheduled meetings of the Township Council established and adopted by the Township Council with scheduled designated time, date, and place of this public meeting. I have a public notice of this meeting has been provided pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act. Where it is electronic amplifying and recording device in order to an audible and clear record, we request all those wishing to speak be recognized and state your name and address directly into the microphone. Recording device to be solely utilized by the Township Council. The Township Clerk's Office and shall be in the official record of the Township Council meeting. Roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison.
Present.
Mr. Schmidt.
Present.
Mr. Seiler.
Here.
Mrs. Trotto.
Here.
Mrs. Winters.
Here.
Mr. Mercado.
Present.
Mr. Bianchini.
Present.
Mr. Mata. Mr. Lechner.
Here.
Chief Earl.
Here.
Mr. Carlemere.
Here.
Mr. Cardis.
Here.
We have the first public portion in which to speak on agenda items only. Please raise your hand and come to the microphone. Mr. Egger?
Yes, Richard Edgar, aerial section of Gloucester Township. I just wanted to thank everybody for the time I did spend on the Gloucester Township Municipal Utilities Authority, the council members, the president, and anybody else involved. It was a good time. And I also wish my replacement success, Doc Bradley. Also, I noticed though that the resolution actually says that she is replacing Mr. Pillow. Well, she's actually replacing myself. Pillow is moving up.
Yeah.
And
So Mr. Pillow is taking your spot, Vic.
Right.
And she's finishing the term of Mr. Pillow, am I correct? That's correct.
Okay, well, once again, I just want to thank everybody for your consideration for the 12 years that I did serve on the MUA. It was a pleasure. It's a good group of employees. They cover over 300 miles of pipeline, 54 pumping stations, and they do a hell of a job, including the chairman. And thank you again.
Thank you, Vic. Anyone else? Yes.
Andrew Gardner, 50 Pinehurst Court. I just had questions. I know we have a second reading tonight on ordinance 014-01 for the $6 million for, I guess these are for CapEx expenditures today.
Capital program.
Okay. My question is, according to the fiscal 2012 and 13, I show that we paid $5.5 million, about $5.6 million in principal. But today, for this year, we're trying to take out a bond for $6.1 million. So, you know, we're not paying as much principal as we're taking out, so we're incurring more of a deficit here in the township. And my concern is that the current tax rates are greater than the rate of inflation in my town, in my district. So right now, the current tax rates are 3.4% or so, which the rate of inflation is 3%. So with that being said, you know, can we get this in line with the rate of inflation, this bond ordinance? You know, so what I'm really asking for is that, you know, we cut this by about $500,000.
Tom, I think that was not increasing the amount of debt that we're paying off X amount, and it's almost equal to what we are.
It is the amortization schedule for the debt service, including the new debt. And, you know, we are permanently financing issuances from the last couple of years. They've been in the form of notes that are being reissued on an annual basis. The advice we're getting from the financial consultant is to be wary about the interest rates. They're concerned they may jump up. So we are, in fact, going to permanently finance all those issuances, including these new issuances. And it's predicted through the amortization schedule, the debt will stay basically stable. Principal and interest will be about the same as it is right now. In some cases, it'll go up. Some cases, it'll actually be less than what it is now.
Now, Andrew, just so you're aware, you know, everybody has their wish list, and what I call a wish list. They come to the mayor as well as to Tom, and then and Tom, I don't remember what that total amount was, but you cut it all the way back to.
Oh, it's probably closer.
So what cuts have been made? That's what I would like to know. What cuts have you talked about and you said, okay, we can't do this. Let's talk about that. Can we talk about what cuts have you made?
Yeah, the mayor and Tom, before they even gave it to us, made a substantial amount of cuts to that.
Specifically?
I don't have a list.
Can we have, I'd like to have more specifics, you know what I mean? Because a lot of the paperwork here is very general speaking. So, you know, what you tell me could be just lip service. So I'd like something a little more specific.
I'll just say this, okay? I don't give you lip service, all right?
Well, the town has been given lip service because the taxes have been going up.
Andrew,
Yeah.
I don't give you lip service.
All right, well,
Okay?
tell me what cuts have been made.
Everything you've ever asked us for, I've made Mr. Cardis or others respond appropriately back to you. So we don't have the information. I'd be more than happy to show you what they originally came in for.
Okay.
And I would have no problem showing you what the cuts.
All right, just make the minutes reflect that, and then that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. I just want to make sure that we're moving in the right direction because the taxes are not moving in the right direction. My property values are not moving in the right direction. So I'm trying to help out here. I don't come here to waste my time or waste your time. I come to make a difference. I come to help out,
I appreciate
and you know that's the reason I come here today. So. You know, I'd like to see some, you know, some notice of what has been cut, what movement we have been made. You know, believe it or not, cuts are actually progress in some cases. You know, we're trying to eliminate expenditures where we don't need it. You know, and maybe allocating money somewhere else where we do need it. So there is a value of just not carte blanche giving this amount of money blank check.
And we also have, as you can see, there's a second bond ordinance through the New Jersey infrastructure
Yeah.
system in which we get better rates, and actually 75% of it is interest-free. So
Okay.
we do find monies that are going, again, help us reduce the bond.
All right, I appreciate it. Thanks, Glenn. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Pete?
Pete Heimball, Sicklerville. Before I get to my questions on the agenda items, I wanted to thank Mr. Cardis. At the last meeting, I had a couple of requests. One to be included in the tax abatement meetings, and second, some bond issue cost information. And Tom responded to both of those very timely, so thank you. My questions are on the agenda. Questions are on the bill list for this month. One question is, we had a $400 payment to Comcast that was charged to the Open Space Trust account, and I believe that's for security cameras in the park.
It is.
So I just want to renew my argument, call for an end to the municipal open space tax, because expenses like this, and almost everyone I ever see charged to this open space trust account, are truly ongoing, just day-to-day running of the parks. And I think they should be, those expenses should be rolled into the general municipal budget, and we no longer have this open space tax.
As you're aware, and Dave, correct if I'm wrong, the open space is not only for the purchase, but also for the upgrade and the maintenance of those park areas.
Yeah, I do know that's what is in the ballot question when it was passed. But I just think there should be an end to that, and I think we're at about that end point right now, where everything we're spending now is just day-to-day maintenance and running of the parks, and it shouldn't. Excuse me?
That's really what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, but it can't be forever. This is a separate tax. Well, we've been through this before. I guess everyone disagrees with me up there, so I guess we're going to pay that 2%, 0.2% for forever. Then I think it should end. I think a lot of people would agree with me. It's for day-to-day expenses now. Another expenditure on the bill list was for $12,000 capitalized for a police thermal image camera. I just had a couple questions about that. Is this is this a video type camera rather than a still frame, still picture?
Chief, would you know the answer to that?
I believe the one it's referencing, that price, is handheld thermal imaging, so it would see heat signatures in the dark, like looking for a child in the woods, or a elderly person, or even a person in the woods.
Is it like video type
No.
camera?
No, it sends a
just-
live image
okay.
picture on a screen
Right.
that the officer would utilize.
We
It's not a
have-
recording type thing.
We have other of those now, or is
We
this?
do.
Oh, we do. This-
Not that particular type handheld. Some are different. There's a variety of them. Some are mounted as weapons, others are not. But that particular type is a different model.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
A couple other items on the bill list. Remington Burnick had $35,000 worth of expenditures. About 20-some invoices were listed on the bill list. I have a question on two of those invoices. One, there was a $600 charge, a payment to Remington Burnick. It was charged to the red light camera account. Why would,
Is that for the?
For the
calibration?
six-month recertification.
That's the recertification fee on the red light camera.
they handle that every
States that.
Every 6 months they handle that?
Yes.
Okay. And another expenditure was, to Remington Burnick, was $13,000. It was under cap spending for the energy savings plan. Do we know what they performed?
That was the, as you know, the town's been going through a program of putting solar panels, replacing boilers, both in here and in the school district, replacing a lot of the air conditioning units to get more energy saving stuff, and we've been assisting the town with that. We've been doing the inspection of the work in the buildings and we're moving some time in that regard. That's what that was for.
This is-
Primarily for the inspection of the work.
And that's the program that we went before the local finance board to get approval on. It is a cost-neutral program based on the savings, the energy savings from the schools and from the township.
Yeah, that was the plan. Is anyone related to that point? Is there anyone on an ongoing basis like monitoring all the costs we're racking up and tabulating the savings?
The local finance board lays those parameters out in the beginning. You cannot get approval unless those costs meet certain requirements.
That's at the beginning. I'm talking about now that we're executing all these
Yeah,
plans.
there's an audit, there's a final audit.
Is that, so there is a
Is
final
that for the
order?
life of the project?
No, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, John, I believe it's after the acquisitions have been made. For example, there are boilers that were installed, there were lighting fixtures that were all swapped out, there's numerous expenses. The main thing is that they have calculated what the savings is going to be, and they look at those costs to make sure that we don't exceed what we said we were going to spend.
Tom, I believe there's a third-party audit that you're going to have to hire special contract third party, so that's not involved with it, to verify that everything is done.
You are correct, John. I did talk to them about that, yes. There is a verification.
Okay. So understand there's an expenditure that's you can't exceed, and there's calculated savings that result from this so that it's a viable project. But actual savings, is there any way to monitor, like as the electric bills come in every month, or the South Jersey gas bills and such, are we monitoring that we're actually achieving a level of savings that'll pay for this project? Is anyone doing that?
I don't know what they do moving forward in the future years, to be honest with you. No, I don't.
So is there any way we could talk to the schools that have them monitor theirs? I know when talking about the ones we have on our building, you've indicated that there has been savings. So is there any way the schools could send that information to us?
I'm sure we can contact.
Yeah, I'm not talking about calculated savings. I'm sure the numbers at the beginning, but I'm talking about now that this is a live project and things are being installed and we should be realizing some actual savings.
Yeah.
Is anyone monitoring, analyzing that we're achieving
Tom
what?
will work with the schools, and obviously he's going to be watching anything that we have done. So Tom can fill us in on that as well.
Okay, that was it then. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing no other hands, we'll close the first public portion. Bid RFQ report.
Deer Park Circle Basin Rehabilitation, Clement Drive Pipe and Head Wall Replacement.
Motion to approve bid report.
So moved. Second.
On the question, roll call.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Seiler?
Yes.
Mrs. Strato?
Yes.
Mrs. Winters?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes.
Mr. Bianchini?
Yes. Quote report.
84 and 86 Lincoln Drive erosion repairs.
Motion to accept the quote report.
So moved. Second.
On the question, roll call.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Seiler?
Yes.
Mrs. Strato?
Yes.
Mrs. Winters?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes.
Mr. Bianchini?
Yes. These are ordinances of second reading, and with these ordinances, there will be a public hearing on each one. Bond ordinance O-14-01. Bond ordinance authorizing the acquisition of various pieces of capital equipment and the construction and completion of various capital improvements in and for the Township of Gloucester, County of Camden, New Jersey, appropriating the sum of $6,491,472, therefore authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds or bond anticipation notes of the Township of Gloucester, County of Camden, New Jersey, in the aggregate principal amount of up to $6,166,898, making certain determination and covenants and authorizing certain related actions in connection with the foregoing. And as discussed before, this is the capital improvement plan for this coming year. We will now have a public hearing on this ordinance. Seeing no hands, we'll close the public hearing. Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Seiler?
Yes.
Mrs. Strato?
Yes.
Mrs. Winters?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes.
Mr. Bianchini?
Yes. Ordinance O-14-02. Bond ordinance authorizing various improvements to the stormwater drainage system in the Township of Gloucester, County of Camden, New Jersey, appropriating the sum of $1,750,000, therefore authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds or bond anticipation of the Township of Gloucester, County of Camden, New Jersey, in the aggregate principal amount of up to $1,750,000, making certain determination and covenants, and authorizing certain related actions in connection with the foregoing. This ordinance is again a capital improvement program, and this is funded through the New Jersey Environmental, Trust. We now have a public hearing on this ordinance. Seeing no hands, we'll close the public hearing. Motion to adopt.
So moved. Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Seiler?
Yes.
Mrs. Strato?
Yes.
Mrs. Winters?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes.
Mr. Bianchini?
Yes. Ordinance O-14-03. Ordinance of the Township of Gloucester, County of Camden, State of New Jersey, adopting amendment number 3, amending ordinance O-97-017, commonly known as the Glen Oaks redevelopment plan to establish welding and metal fabrication shop as permitted, as a permitted use. This ordinance will allow the township to approve a use the Glen Oaks redevelopment for welding and metal fabrication. We'll now have a public hearing on this ordinance. Seeing no hands, we'll close the public hearing. Motion to adopt.
So moved. Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Seiler?
Yes.
Mrs. Strato?
Yes.
Mrs. Winters?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes.
Mr. Bianchini?
Yes. Ordinance of first reading. Ordinance O-14-04. Ordinance amending Chapter 2 of the Code of the Township of Gloucester entitled Department of Police of the Code of the Township of Gloucester. This ordinance allows the development of a division of emergency management within the Department of Police. This also allows for the organization of a community emergency response team, otherwise known as CERT. Dave, anything to add to that?
No, that's exactly what it does. It defines Division of Emergency Management as under the structure of the Department of Police, then establishes within that division a community emergency response team to be made up of citizens and trained by the police department. I believe there might even be some funding out there for assistance in that type of training to assist the first responders, police, fire, and EMS.
Thank you. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Seiler?
Yes.
Mrs. Trotto?
Yes.
Mrs. Winters?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes.
Mr. Bianchini?
Yes. We now have resolutions of consent agenda. Any council person wishing to remove any of these resolutions, please let me know now. Motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
On the question, roll call?
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Seiler?
Yes.
Mrs. Trotto?
Yes.
Mrs. Winters? Mr. Mercado?
Yes.
Mr. Bianchini?
Yes.
46, resolution of the Township Council, the Township of Gloucester, Camden County, New Jersey, naming a redeveloper for 530 North Black Horse Pike, Block 10501, Lot 11 area, and authorizing the signing of a redevelopment agreement, memorandum of agreement.
As the resolution states, this allows the township to name a redeveloper for the aforementioned address and authorize the signing of the redevelopment agreement. Motion to approve.
So moved.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Seiler?
Yes.
Mrs. Trotto?
Yes.
Mrs. Winters?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes.
Mr. Bianchini?
Yes.
47, resolution appointing members to the Gloucester Township Municipal Utilities Authority.
This resolution authorizes the appointment of Joe Pillow for a 5-year term and Dorothy Bradley to fill the unexpired term of Joe Pillow on the Gloucester Township Municipal Utilities Authority. Motion to adopt.
So moved. Second.
On the question, roll call?
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Seiler?
Yes.
Mrs. Trotto?
Yes.
Mrs. Winters?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes.
Mr. Bianchini?
Yes. I believe, Tom, we have to approve or talk about the
Yeah,
the
you,
doors that we left off of the recent add-on
change order.
change order, excuse me, and that was for $6,613.33.
Correct.
If everybody remembers at the workshop, we questioned a few items. Some of them were changes by the ball club, and that one particular change order, Tom took care of that, and the club is coming forward and paying those changes. This one was at the Township Rec Center, in which the, and correct me, Tom, if I'm wrong, the Director of Public Works, Mr. Maffa, in the middle of the project decided that the doors needed to be changed, so he authorized the doors to be changed, and that, I believe, gave them better access to the rec center as well as to the room, the storage room, which enabled them to be able to get equipment and stuff into the new classrooms.
That, and it also, I believe, was for fire and safety purposes.
Correct. It was another exit, you're right.
Correct.
So without that, Tom, on my way here, asked that we talk about it and then, in fairness to the vendor, pay for that if the desire of the council. So,
You would need an add-on resolution read by title only to
Okay.
approve the change order.
is that okay there?
That's correct. You do that by title, your standard resolution authorizing the change order for the interior doors, $6,613.33.
So this would be a separate
I'll prepare it tomorrow.
resolution for the change order.
That's 048?
Yes.
Is there any questions from council on this? Seeing none, do we have the motion to approve that new resolution?
I'll make that motion. Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Seiler?
Yes.
Mrs. Trotto?
Yes.
Mrs. Winters?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes.
Mr. Bianchini?
Yes. I have no questions from GTE Gov access, and so we will have the second public portion. Anyone wish to speak, please raise your hand and come to the microphone. Yes, Andrew?
Andrew Gardner, 50 Pinehurst Court. A couple things I think we can do to improve our town. Things in the future just to look at as possible. See if we can save on lighting and working with some of our, PSC&G. I know they're really tough to work with. I know people have worked with the lighting in certain towns, but there was a lot of new technology out there to save cost. So that's one item that I think should be addressed maybe in 2015. See if we can try to get some movement and get some cost savings on that. The other item,
You're talking the lighting in the street?
yeah, street lighting. Also, I live in Valley Brook, and a lot of those lights just stay on and don't work. And I know that that's up to the councils, the committees that work, homeowners associations there. But I wish we could get some more push on them to do some upgrading in that area, because those lights are over 20 years old. They're built with the community. I don't know, they're not efficient, and these are things I think we should again be pressing those bodies to try to address.
I realize we don't have any jurisdiction over the homeowner association because I live in the same
Yeah.
area,
Mm-hmm.
and unfortunately they are they need it better than I do. Because there was questions on certain things that they were doing or not doing, and so Mr. Harlem stated that they are their own entity, and so we can offer suggestions, we can recommend that they do things, but I think ultimately they are their own entity. They really don't have to have open records or any of that stuff, which is
okay. Second item I wanted to mention is about trying to build some more entertainment in this community. I think the government does a pretty good job of trying to put up programs, and the attendance in those programs is you see a lot of reimbursement and stuff like that. But I would like to see more coming out of the private sector. With that being said, maybe some of these vacant areas that we have in the township that we had old shopping centers, we could maybe try to stimulate those by providing some kind of abatement for more entertainment to try to keep our community even more active, and even specifically with the private sector focusing on that. So maybe again in the future we can focus on getting that into place. And my third and final item is regarding again, the property taxes have been going up, and I looked at the taxes, and it looks like we're spending more per student in the town, which is, hey, that's great. I'll mention to them what could be changed to try to reduce that cost. But with that being said, my concern is that we are investing in children here, and my concern is that some of these people living here may be transient, and that way, if we have a transient person that comes in, lives in our town here, and then leaves, we're investing. Say the person has, a child with some learning disabilities, and we're investing in this child, and then they get up and leave. We're not really keeping that investment. So with that being said, is there any way we can start leveraging maybe some kind of, tax on renting or something like that, where we can try to promote people to stay in the town, by, I know you have to get a certificate of occupancy to rent in the town, but maybe something that says, okay, if you want to live in the town, it's going to cost you a couple bucks, unfortunately, because we have to register you, enroll you in our schools, we got to do this, there's going to be new budgeting constraints and things like that. I feel that it would help people who are, staying here, living in this town and paying the property tax and promoting the community. And again, this is just an idea. I throw it out there. You guys can talk about it in private amongst yourselves, but I think it would really kind of help out some of the people who are living here, not the PIP folks who are just buying and renting them out and using them as investment. And then you have, again, transient folks coming in and out, and just trying to keep people in the town. That's really my a big concern of mine. Thank you.
Anyone else? Pete?
Pete Heinball, Sicklerville. I want to bring up again what I just talked about a few minutes ago, this energy plan. I'm not interested in someone at the school just jotting down a number of electric bill and reporting it to Tom, and Tom tells me or whatever. That doesn't do anything. Really what I'm getting at is when we have projects like this or expenditures like this, especially designed to be an investment, to save money or to pay for themselves, there needs to be a project owner or someone who's assigned to drive the savings that we want to expect from these spending. It sounds like that's not really. At the beginning, we estimate we have a budget what to spend. We calculate what we think we're going to save, and everyone goes on the merry way, and that's the last we hear about anything about energy savings. Is there anyone assigned to drive these savings, or to take ownership that these savings are achieved?
In my mind, I think of it simply, Pete, they made an investment, X amount of dollars, and they made that investment, and in this case, as Tom said, they're expecting that investment to pay for the cost of that project. So they know, they probably, and John, you might know this, they probably they know the total amount they're spending on their utilities, or whatever utility it is, before it, and then they see what the utilities are costing after. To me, it's simple, accounting, that they can take a look at it and say, okay, this is what we're finding, and this is what.
Well, Glenn, the things that are being placed in these areas, the lighting, the fixtures, correct me if I'm wrong, John, the boilers are all based on their specifications. They can calculate what the projected savings will be as opposed to what they're currently using. And that's really what went into this program and drives this program to be revenue neutral in terms of the cost. And again, that had to be approved by the local finance board, so they needed to see all those calculations. They needed to see the financing. They needed to make sure that the savings was going to be there in order to offset the cost of issuance on the debt.
Yeah. And I'm not questioning.
Saying,
Yeah.
Is anybody following up on it and saying, taking
Again,
a look at it and saying, okay, it's supposed to save X dollars, is it saving that? So I would imagine people are looking at it, whether they're reporting or not, because most people are budgeting to those lower numbers, hopefully.
It's accountable to the
Does the state,
the BPU.
do they come in and take a look at it?
Absolutely. The BPU
So
is-
maybe there's information that the schools could share, as well as anything that you know from a municipality that could show, hey, it was a good investment.
And it's a statewide program. It's not just for us. Ours was unique in that we entered a partnership between the municipality and the schools. No one up to this point has done that. Everybody pretty much has done it for themselves. So, but it is a prevalent program that's seen throughout the state.
Yeah, it's like, in my mind, it's like the MUA. We went to single stream. We know there's a 30% or more increase in the recyclables being taken out of the trash.
Right.
We've seen that. We know that. That's tangible. So I think that's what Peter's trying to get at.
Your example, the MUA, someone's measuring that, measuring that 30% number.
Oh, that's measured every time they take.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about then. Yeah, that type of, and really that should go for any large investment we make where we're expecting a return on it, or a savings to offset it and things like that. Someone should own it, drive the savings, report to the council that we're achieving or not achieving the savings, and what the mitigating action will be if we're not achieving the savings. I mean, this is all just good management 101. I mean, it doesn't sound like enough of that is happening with our large expenditures.
When is the audit supposed to be done?
You're talking about the third-party verification?
Yeah.
Shortly. I know we spoke.
That's what you're talking about.
Right.
I mean, I know.
So this agency, yeah, it doesn't,
But
it's
the
what,
audit it's a historical calculation. I mean, are you interested in knowing on a monthly basis?
no,
Okay. Or on a bi-monthly basis?
no, just
What are you interested in knowing?
quarterly, semi-annually, something like that, that we're on the pace to it, things are on target now.
Hire somebody to handle that. We were hiring an accounting firm to somehow calculate all of the savings for the boilers, for the lights, and then measure it against the costs and the interest. Is that what you're looking for on a quarterly basis?
I'm sorry, but it's
We-
cost prohibitive.
Yeah,
I don't
we-
know.
I don't know, I haven't thought through exactly what happens to it, but just the savings we advertised that we were going to achieve with this millions of dollars of expenditure, we are in fact achieving
You're
those.
sitting there and you're asking for a forensic analysis.
I'm asking
on a
for
quarter-
project management, for them to own the project and
You want
drive
a
the
forensic-
savings. That's what
You're asking for
anyone
a forensic-
does.
Pete, you're asking for a forensic analysis on a quarterly basis
Well, you're-
that can be done by an accounting firm.
No. And, I'm sure everyone's busy. Mr. Moffett could own it. Someone could own it. Someone to own these projects. We spend millions of dollars on these projects and no one owns them.
Yeah, but
No one
you're
owns
asking
them.
them to analyze the bills.
Yes, that's
And
exactly
pull
what
these
you're
bills
asking
and
for.
go through them in detail. And I'm not sure it's supposed to see
It definitely comes down-
inconsistency comparing May of one year to May of another year, and then all of a sudden you see a difference the following year. What do you do to correct it? I'm not sure what we're looking to do here. We have fixtures installed, boilers installed, lighting fixtures installed, lights installed, and they're all based on the projected savings that the manufacturer has been tested on.
Okay.
So I'm really not sure that.
And I think the criticism, to be quite frank with you, is unjust on this. There is an audit that will be conducted which is going to measure the savings that has been attained.
Okay.
That's what we're gonna get.
Another government agency will come in and perform a government-style audit. Okay. I'd like to, when that happens, we'll see if we're getting where we're getting.
I mean,
And-
it's a state-run program. It
Yeah.
has parameters that are established by the state.
Okay, when I'm making this type of suggestion, I'm not, this is complicated, and it does sound like there's a follow-up audit in place. That's a good answer.
There is.
That's a good answer.
Third-party verification.
All of our projects, though, we're spending millions of dollars and expect some kind of return, whether it's financial or otherwise. I don't see like ownership or anyone driving to get what we claim we wanted to get up front, across the
Your
board.
opinion, Pete. That's an opinion. But can you?
No, I say I'm not seeing it.
Can you point to one project that you're not happy about? That's what I'd like to hear from you.
Well,
Which project are you talking about right now? Do you know? Where you don't see ownership.
I'll come back with that.
No.
I do look at the stuff. I'm not coming up with
It's real
it.
easy.
No.
It's real easy to sit
I do have
there
it. I'm just not.
and
Nothing's
throw
coming to
blanket
me.
criticism.
Yeah.
But
And you're right.
not coming
You're
here
right.
with anything in particular. And
I
I
did.
challenge you right now.
Okay.
You have anything in mind that you can criticize?
I
that
do have a
you know
lot in
of?
mind. Nothing. I'm standing at the microphone and not coming to.
Then why did you make the statement?
I made the statement. I brought up this energy savings plan, and you gave me an answer that I somewhat trust will work out. You know, a government agency performing an audit.
I've held my tongue while you've asked for a tremendous amount of forensic analysis from Tom.
This is all.
No, you have. You've done it over the past 6 to 9 months. I've listened. What you haven't done is come to us and acknowledge the additional costs that will be borne by the town. We have to get additional support for Tom if we were to implement everything you want.
I'll come with requests in the future with more thought toward that. But mostly what I'm asking for, and now ownership of a project. This is all should be built into the way it's run. The way it's run from day one. I mean,
But you're saying no ownership.
Yeah.
Where is there no ownership? What project?
Nothing's coming to me standing here at the microphone. But I do, stuff comes to me when I pour through documents. It's not coming to me right now. Maybe it will before I leave. But, so you disagree that there's not ownership? There's no one, you disagree with my statement that there's
With your
not
premise,
ownership?
yes, I do. And we take a lot of criticism up here, as every council person who has ever sat up here has done. But it becomes frustrating when somebody's going to level criticism at you.
And I try not
can't
to do
support
that.
it.
I try not to do that.
Well,
If
you
it
know
sounds
what?
like I am, I'll provide more detail and specifics going forward. I try not to do that. I try not to sit up here and just say everything sucks. We got to do. You know, I was addressing a specific project here. I was addressing the energy savings plan. Got some answers. Not sure it's really being driven for the millions of dollars being spent. I'm not sure the savings are really being driven to.
Well, I think you see the project. The project is being driven. We have people involved in it, overseeing the project. What you're asking is some results, and again, like, Tom said that there's an independent audit of the government that takes a look at it. And so once we get that, we can share that with you as well.
Okay, that'd be good. And I'll be as specific as I can going forward. I try to come up with facts and not just general criticisms. If that's the way I'm coming across, I'll do better. I know that's not a good way to stand up here and present things. It's just general critiques. Another question. and this is related to GTMUA. Up until maybe 5-6 months ago, their meeting agendas and minutes were available on their website, and all of a sudden, they're not there. I brought it up
Yeah.
to that organization that they're
And
not
they will
there.
be putting them back on there with why they fell off, I'm not sure, but the chairman said that they'll make sure that they are on there. And, you know, again, you can request them, just like any other government agency. If you want to see them, you can request them, and they'll provide them. But I'll remind the chairman to make sure that they get put up on there.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Andrew?
Andrew Gardner, 50 Pinehurst Court. Actually, in his defense, I've worked for large companies on multi-million-dollar projects, $100 million projects. And the way you manage that, what he's speaking of, is called metrics. So you set up a metric and you measure your success based on that metric. So I think what he's looking for is what metrics do we use in this town? You know, I'll give you an example. Chief Earl, he mentions the number of arrests. But to be quite honest, I'm not really interested in the number of arrests as a taxpayer. I'm more interested in the crime rate. I'm interested in how much it costs to patrol 1 mile of road. You know, I'm interested in metrics. So I think what we're looking for is more, you know, what metrics can we design that are very generic and basic, and we could put up a scorecard to say, how are we doing as a government? Or how is our township doing? So these are the things I think we're looking for. I'm sorry if that's too general. I can't spend all my time getting so involved in the government here. You know, that's really why we elect, you know, government officials. So I think, like, with that being said, maybe we could set up some kind of scorecard. It should be actually run by the department heads. Each department head, whether it be, you know, the MUA or the police department, should have metrics. And these metrics should be reported on a certain basis. It has nothing to do with audit. Audit is just to make sure you're doing something for regulatory reasons. Metrics is to show that you're really doing your job. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. Anyone else? Seeing no other hands, we close the second public portion. Calling the directors of council, please.
Mr. Lechner?
I have nothing to report.
Chief Earl?
Nothing to report, thank
Mr.
you.
Carlemere?
Nothing to report.
Mr. Cardis?
Nothing to report.
Mr. Hutchison?
I want to thank the police department for the service, their effort, Public Works as well. My wife actually couldn't get up one of the hills coming from 42, and an officer, not knowing who she was, got out of his truck where everybody was passing by and helped her get up there. And I really appreciated that. And my wife came home and she said, you know, it really is nice to live in a town like this where, you know, the people working for the town, the police department, take the time to help us. So that's a sincere thank you.
Mr. Schmidt?
I'd like to thank everyone for coming out this evening. Thank you for all your comments. Police, as usual, and Public Works. There's some potholes out there, and they've been fixed. Thank you very much. I personally would like to thank you on that.
Mr. Seiler?
Yes, I would like to thank Mr. Agar for his many years of service on the MUA. Thank you, Mr. Agar. And I'd like to ask Mr. Carter, how we're making out on the snow budget. How we spent?
I don't have all the bills in yet for the most recent storm. The first one, I would estimate ran somewhere around $225,000, all costs included. This one, the most recent one, I think is going to go a little bit further. I mean, we're still within our budget, but you know, obviously, I can't be as enthusiastic as the school kids when it starts snowing. A bit depressing for me.
Mrs. Trotta?
Thank you for coming out this evening and for your comments, and thank you, Dick, for your service with the MUA. And I'd like to throw out my thanks to Public Works for where I live in Glendora. I was very happy with the snow removal and the salting and sanding and whatever else they do. It was the first time, I don't know who our contractor was that was assigned to our area, but they did a phenomenal job making sure that our streets were safe throughout that time frame. So thank you.
Mrs. Winter?
One more comment, sorry. And I'd also like to thank Orlando for putting together the Martin Luther King Day of Service projects. I participated with my family and some other friends, and we had a great time that day at Gabriel Davies Tavern. I met some new people, and it was just a really nice day. Saw a lot of new faces out at the service and met some old friends too, so thank you for what you did.
Mrs. Winters?
Thank everyone for coming out. I actually want to thank Orlando for that. My children participated this year for the first time. I wasn't able to go, but it was a good experience for them. I want to thank Public Works. They did a great job with the storms. I actually had a patient today, just through conversation, found out he was from Gloucester Township, and we talked about the snowstorm and different things, and he actually commented and said what a good job in his neighborhood that they did with his cleanup also. So thank you.
Mr. Mercado?
I want to thank everyone for coming out this evening. Mr. Edgar, thank you for your 12 years. When I first got involved in community activities here 12 years ago, we served on the same committee together, the Human Relations Commission, and you always showed me kindness and friendship, so thank you for your service to the community. Thank you, Dick. And also I want to thank the residents of Gloucester Township. This past Monday was our 3rd annual Martin Luther King Day of Service, and we had 363 volunteers come out that day. In addition to some people who just didn't register and just volunteered their time that day. So I want to thank the residents of Gloucester Township. We had 16 service projects throughout the township. Next year's going to be bigger and better, so thank you very much.
Mr. Bianchini?
I'd like to thank the residents for attending tonight's meeting. Orlando, thank you for what you did for the Martin Luther King Day. That was a good thing. I also want to thank the police as well as Public Works for their actions during the snowstorm. Tom, I believe when I remember getting on council, the storms would cost us $500,000. This was a pretty good sized storm, and they had it down to about $250,000 plus. So I think overall we're getting more efficiencies, we're getting better service.
Yeah.
And this one's a particularly tough one because of the cold weather and the freezing. But Public Works continued to attack the streets.
And the brine system has really been a...
And I think that helps, probably help reduce some of the costs as well. So I think we are constantly looking for reductions and trying to do a better job for the residents and as best as we can. With that, I will ask for a motion to adjourn. All those in favor? All those, thank you.